Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Research and Design Build. In today's episode, we're going to cover cutting in when you've got fresh ceiling paint and you're doing the initial paint of a room. We have the painter's professional method of cutting in with a paintbrush, and we've got the let's get professional looks but without the skill set with this guy here. So I will show you how to use this the correct way and to get great results, the same results as a pro would get with a regular paintbrush. So what we're going to be using to get that nice crisp line is one of these guys. So this you can pick up, this one's a Sureline. I think there's probably a couple different variants out there. It's got a little flicky bit here where you can put down the guard that will run up against the wall. It's got a couple run across the ceiling, and there's a couple of wheels here that somewhat spin that give you that spacing off that line. That's going to be one of the things that sort of defines where that crisp line is for you. And then there's these pads, and these pads are replaceable and pretty inexpensive. So this is definitely kind of the DIYer's version. If you're a professional painter, you'd be I'd say almost exclusively just using a brush on its edge and cutting in. I will show you that technique briefly, but this is what I found for me to be the most useful to get that nice crisp cut-in line at the ceiling height. So you do need to make sure that you keep these clean. So after every couple of feet or so, I am flipping these up and making sure that they're clean. They aren't going to leave you any marks on your ceiling, because that is a big bummer. And then the next trick to using them is how much paint you apply. So you can just go and dip it straight into your paint, and that's fine, but you'll notice you don't really get a good even spread, and you'll end up with some globs and that sort of thing. And if you push it in too much into the paint to really cover it, you're going to have an issue in that it's going to come up over the top of this top edge here, and then you're going to have paint really where you want it, so where you don't want it. So you really want to try to get the least amount of paint, I would say, on this as possible. And one way I've done that is to sort of smooth it out with your brush itself. So if you just get a little bit of paint on your brush itself and get that onto and when you're not trying to film, you're kind of doing everything in one go, it does go a lot quicker. But there you can see we've got some fairly even paint distribution across the top. I'm not too worried about the bottom of this pad, because we're going to go touch that up after the fact. So now that you got your paint evenly placed on the pad, you want to make sure, double check that you got these clean, and that whatever paint is on them, if there is dry. And then you're going to put it up on the wall and then flip the guard down. And here I'm starting about 1/2 inch away from the ceiling. And then I'm going to work my way up to the ceiling. And now it's touching, and we got the rollers doing the work. And you can see we got a perfect, nice, clean edge there. So we'll go back over here, do the same thing. And we got our nice, perfect edge with the ceiling. Now, a lot of people leave it at this, but what's happened here is we've got quite a bit of paint up here, and then the transition down is quite limited. And so if you don't go back over this with a brush, what you're going to have is you're going to have this really rough transition where you're going to have nice smooth paint, and then you're going to be able to see a line here where you've already got the second layer. So the key is to come back with a brush kind of touch it up and then sort of fade it down into this area. So then you don't have this built up sort of thick layer of paint here and then no paint here. Because as you add layers, then you're gonna have this like 3-inch line going all the way around your room. So now we're just gonna take our paintbrush and come back over this. And there we go, now that we've got this sort of blended down and feathered out, and then you won't see that transition when you go and roll the wall. And you roll up here, there won't be this sort of solid line here in your final paint.